Welcome to Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. I'm JJ Flizanes, your host, and thank you for downloading today's episode. Today I'm going to do a Q&A. There were several questions in the 30-day manifestation challenge. I did a Facebook Live in that group on the last day of the challenge, which was November 30th. And while I did the Facebook Live and a bunch of people did watch it, I even know that everybody in that group didn't watch it. So I figured the best way to relay some of the answers to those questions would be on the podcast. And a lot of you who aren't even in the group will get the benefit of some of these questions being answered. So before I start, there are still a few spaces left in the Manifestation Mastermind. I have about, 5 of you who have said you wanted to do it but haven't committed yet, so I can't hold your space. If you're on the fence about it, you want to do it, really it's whoever purchases it first. So if you've gotten the email from me, or if you don't have an email, reach out to me. And again, there are some spaces left, and I'm going to keep selling them until we have the right and perfect group of 20 people to start masterminding about manifestation in January for 6 months. It'll be very exciting. Okay, so here we go with the questions. And I apologize if I pronounce your name incorrectly, because I don't know all of you in person and I haven't worked with all of you. So Janae Dunlawson asks, how do you keep your energy levels up when trying to manifest and your partner doesn't believe in the woo-woo and is realistic about everything? How do I not let my vibrations shift to that level of thinking? Okay, so I have a 3-part answer to this question because I've had a ton of experience with it. Number 1, we cannot use the excuse of someone else's frequency as our excuse, right? Because that's just you using them as your excuse to not be in a better place. We have to find a way and learn, which is why I started the Manifestation Challenge, to set your tone and frequency higher so that you're not even noticing their negative woo-woo behavior. Also, if you're asking someone to get on board to help you who's not on board, you're setting yourself up for, again, using them as your excuse not to be in alignment with yourself or your vision or your higher self. So we have to be very careful and set better boundaries when you decide who to talk to about this. And again, it's another plug, but this is the reason why I started doing events, because you can be guaranteed that every single person in my room, or every single person in the mastermind, or every single person in the Manifestation Challenge speaks this language. You don't have to convince somebody intellectually to get on board with what you're doing. The most powerful way to prove that what you're doing works is to do it. Live it. Be an example. And in fact, it is so much more powerful when you are quiet about it. When you announce to others that you're doing this kind of work, you invite them to criticize you. You invite them to keep you accountable and to prove you wrong because maybe they don't believe in it, or maybe they use the word realistic. And something about when someone says they're using the word realistic, that's just code for negativity. And it could be because one of several things. The first is that they just don't believe it. Although I know people that don't believe in the same things I believe, but they're not negative about it because they are secure with what they believe. So there's no reason to be negative about what I believe unless, of course, it's threatening in some way. Some people need to feel respected or heard, and they do it by manipulating others and downplaying others' ideas and thoughts because they believe they're right and they're really just looking for you to validate them. I know a lot of people who are addicted to being right, and they want their partners to know, like they will sell the farm, take someone to court and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars just to get that judgment that they were right for 25 cents, right? It's like ridiculous. So if you're that person, or if you're married to that person or dating that person or have parents who are those people, just remember it's really their wound of wanting to be heard or seen or respected and have worth. And it's also the lack of trust. Someone who wants to use the word realistic also means that they don't have trust. They may believe that nothing good happens and that they are responsible completely for making things happen. And they don't trust or believe in a higher power or in leverage of the universe. So I'd invite you to be more compassionate to somebody who is claiming that they are not woo-woo, or they're threatened by woo-woo, or they don't want to appear to be have no spine, or they don't want to appear to be emotionally driven instead of intellectually driven. There are several reasons why someone would take that position. But my concern for you, Janae, is that you are asking for validation from this person, and you kind of have to know your audience before you go in. And maybe some of you are learning who your audience is now that you're doing this work, and you maybe you put it out there to somebody and they poo-poo it. So that's just a clear indication to keep your mouth shut when you're around them and to get yourself into a better feeling place regardless of what's going on with them. If you want to be more compassionate, which is how I always sort of handle what's going on inside of me in regards to someone else's lack of support or understanding or negativity towards me, is to remember their pain. Maybe even astrologically, someone like that seems like an earth sign to me, like a Virgo or a Capricorn or a Taurus. Now, I'm not trying to throw y'all under the bus, because I know a bunch of Tauruses who are extremely spiritual, a little hypocritical in the execution of their spirituality, but they believe, but yet that they don't practice. And then on the flip side, there are a lot of Capricorns who they want to defend their limitations. And Virgos just don't believe it until they see it. Everything needs to be concrete for some of you earth signs. So if this is an earth sign who's saying, I want to be realistic, it's because to them realistic means something tangible that is they can put in their hands or some kind of proven formula. All right. So please try to be more compassionate, and then also set better boundaries for yourself. Don't talk to people who you think aren't in this frequency about this stuff. That is one of the ways to keep your frequency cleaner and to not get off balance, is when you're trying to seek validation from someone who's never going to validate you. Well, at least not now. I mean, the best thing you can do is just be an example, make it work for your life, live it, and then they'll know it because you will have lived it. So that would be my 5 cents on how to not let your vibration shift to that level of thinking. When you do, just know that you are using them as your excuse to get off track. And now we need to find a quick way for you to get back on. And it can be through compassion and empathy of them, or it could be through the fact that it doesn't matter what the story is. Anything negative is not true. It's all just a story. And if it doesn't make you feel good, then tell a new story until it feels better, and realize that person's position, maybe you can make it a game. Secretly, you can see who manifests more or what they attract into their life. And I'm not saying to tell them that, just secretly. I did a weight loss thing back in 2000 with my roommate, and while I love him dearly and he's a great friend, he is also a trainer, but I didn't think he was as smart as me. I'll be honest. I didn't think he knew biomechanics nearly as well, or physics, or definitely biochemistry, because he's a man, so he didn't count calories, and not that I was counting calories either, but it was sort of the application of food and men and bodybuilding and muscle building that I thought there was a lot of bad science around. And so we did this 12-week program together, and in my mind, I was competing. And in the first 7 weeks, I think I lost 10 pounds and 5% body fat. And I think he had lost 5 pounds and 2% body fat. And technically, as a man, and especially as someone, I think we were both in our either late 20s or early 30s, he should have kicked my butt in that first 7 weeks. He had the biochemistry and the endocrine system to really, he could have killed me in terms of winning, right? But I was like, okay, I won. So you don't have to tell anybody. Just keep it in your mind. All right. Cami asks, relates to astrology. If you're on the cusp, how do you know what sign you are? Well, there are several free services out there. I use astro.com, and you can go to astro.com and do a free chart. You can also go to, I think, astrology.com. There's a bunch. Type in free astrology report, and you probably have 3 or 4 different sites you can go to. If you're on the cusp, I would do all of them and just see what they each say. For a long time, I really enjoyed some of the reports saying that my rising sign was in Capricorn, because I like the idea of having an earth planet. I like the idea of having it be grounding. I like the idea of having a lot of balance and having all the elements in my chart. And then as I have learned more, I'm very happy to be a Sag. So not because I'm trying to throw all the Capricorns under the bus, but for me, it fit my personality. So the other thing you can do is look at what feels right to you, like what intuitively feels like you. It's really not about what it's called. It's only using the information to do something with it. Does that make sense? It's not as important that you're whatever sign you are. It's important to understand the elements of what you resonate with so you know how to transmute them, so you know how to overcome them or utilize them for good instead of getting in your way. Allison asks another astrology question. What if you were born 3 weeks early and that early birth changed your sign? First of all, it didn't change your sign. When you were born, that was your sign. It doesn't matter what your due date was. It matters what your birth date was. I was a month early. I never think of myself as born in April. I always know I'm a Pisces. I came out wanting to be a Pisces. I was 1 month early. So everybody, your birth date is the day you came out, not the day you were due to come out. So, and if you came out early or late, I would always take that as then that's because that baby wanted to be that sign. It was very intentional. I mean, I feel very intentional in coming out as a Pisces. And it also, to me, makes people laugh when they find out because I'm sort of that person that's like, okay, let's get on with it. Like I graduated college in 3 years to like, okay, let's get on with life. And I went to pre-college in between my junior and senior year of high school. And I couldn't wait to go to like I was done in my junior year. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to move on. But I had to go back for my last year of school. But I had already been in a college mindset. But it really reflects my personality. So D asks, when you feel that things are just off in your life in many different areas, love, career, family, and you want to manifest change, how do you know what to start with and when they all seem to be at the top of your list? I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if I try to manifest too much, I won't manifest anything. It's kind of like being good at a lot of things, but not great at anything. And remembering that this practice is really about anything that you say that you want. Anything, money, love, relationships, health. You just want it because you want to feel better when you have it. You think that having it means you're going to feel better. That is the power of this work. You don't have to have it to feel better. You can feel better now. And that is the trick. In fact, feeling better now means you don't even need it. Isn't that a relief? So it's about embodying and feeling the result of that which you want now. And it may not come from focusing on that thing. It sounds like when you focus on any of the things that you want, it creates resistance and activates the lack of having it. So that is why for many practices, the recommendation is to just do a state change. Don't try, right? The only thing you should be trying to do is to find a better feeling thought, to focus on, look at something, read something, listen to something, allow your thoughts to be in something that produces positive feelings. I would recommend taking a nap, go for a walk, play with some children, or some cats or dogs, whatever lights you up. Talk with a friend on the phone, go get a pedicure or manicure, do your pedicure or manicure by yourself, watch a movie, get out of the negative momentum that gets created in this feeling of I have to have this thing for me to feel better. That is not the way this goes. That is why, again, we're doing this group, we're doing the challenge, we do the events, is to get you out of that thinking. It is that thinking and that reality because it's not true. All you have to do is change your mind. All you have to do is change what you think or what you tell yourself to feel better, and then you don't even need it. Or even just to go down the path of, well, what happens when you get it? Then what? Then you need this, then you want that, then you want this. And it's a never-ending cycle of thinking that some endpoint, some material object is going to create eternal joy for you. And it's not. And you all know that. You all intuitively know the story of every single person that has gained fame and fortune and had so many things, yet felt empty inside and still was a drug addict and committed suicide because they didn't feel loved and they didn't feel successful. They didn't feel fulfilled. It's not about the stuff, guys. It's not about the stuff. So if you're feeling like you're off, then stop. I was driving around, I don't know where I was going, and I remember on the path to wherever I was going, like all these negative things kept happening, and I took it as a sign. I'm like, cool, I am not supposed to be working today. I went to like one of those cheapy $40 massage places, like Korean massage places where they keep your clothes on, and they do like $25 foot massages or $40 like full body massages with your clothes on. I just went and had a $40 massage and then went and sat at the beach because I have to get out of that negative momentum. So take the signs. If you keep attracting negative things or things that are off, just stop. release, surrender, and do a 180. And, if you can, and either change the tune in your head, put on some music. If you can, stop what you're doing and do something else. Take a nap, watch a movie, but just change the momentum. So Nicole asks, how do you allow yourself the space to trust that this practice will work when you feel so stressed and beat down? The point of the practice is to help you not feel so stressed and beat down. And Nicole, if you haven't listened to the show with May McCarthy, episode 111 on spirit, purpose, and energy, she talks about the CSO, Chief Spiritual Officer. The show coming out this coming Tuesday with David Bayer is about mind hack and mind hacking, and he talks about his new relationship with God. So whether you call it God or your Chief Spiritual Officer, universe, creator, Buddha, Allah, I don't care what you call it, if you believe in something, the question you ask yourself is, don't I trust there's a plan? And I'm not in charge of the plan? So if you're not in charge of it, you're not controlling it. You can attract and allow it. You can also push it away. So right now, everything is working out for your good. And when you can get yourself into a state of allowing and trust and surrender, then it can come to you. And even if it doesn't come to you, you can feel better knowing you aren't going to make it happen, like physically create it by pushing it into being or stressing it into being. So it's, how do you allow yourself the space to trust that this practice will work? Well, what are your other options? I mean, you either commit to it fully or you try it half-ass and then it doesn't work and you prove yourself right. So if you don't believe it, then don't do it. If you want to surrender your belief and decide that based on people like me who can give you at least 20 different manifestation examples, and then you can borrow someone else's story. You can borrow Sarah Aurelia, who's on this group. She and her husband's story. She wrote this big post about it, and they're going to be in the Manifestation Mastermind. There's a perfect example of somebody who's had a positive experience. So whether it's happened to you or not, I mean, obviously you're getting in your own way. And the question is, are you ready to get out of your own way? How do you do it? You make a decision that this is science. This is about frequency. It's not about a belief. It's a frequency, guys. You can measure the frequency of emotion and the frequency of joy versus the frequency of depression. And I promise those of you that are in a lower frequency manifest stuff like people robbing you, something bad happening to you, planes being late, stuff being missing. And you can say, but I didn't ask for that. No, but you're in the frequency of that. So part of the reason to get happy and to figure it out and learn how to process life in a way to take on the responsibility for yourself so that you feel more powerful will help you feel better no matter what's going on. So really, how do you allow yourself? You make a decision. That's it. Aaron just came to me as I walked into work this morning and automatically noticed myself shift from high to low vibe in seconds. How do you keep your vibe up day to day in a workplace that can often feel very negative with coworkers that are constantly complaining? I'm one in the office that people often come to for venting and complaining. Being an empath, as I'm sure many relate to, is very challenging at work, constantly assessing boundaries and noticing what's mine, not mine. Noticing my energy shift constantly all day. I walk around during lunch and listen to music to amp myself back up, but I feel that is a temporary fix and I still often leave work completely drained of energy. Any resource or suggestions you have for that would be greatly appreciated. So grateful for this challenge. Excited to keep things going. Okay, Aaron, and anyone who's in this community who's an empath, I really want you to try to make it to January's event. And at very least, you get the virtual ticket. And at very least, you buy the Next Big Step virtual. Well, I mean, I have to offer it again in a new way. But if you're interested, let me know, because Lisa Thomas went over how to protect your energy. We went how to shield yourself, how to cleanse yourself. And that would be my number one resource for how to learn how to put up an energetic shield. Now, the chakra clearing audio that I did will help to sort of move some of that stuff out if you do it. It's an 11-minute audio. But during the day, you're not necessarily protected. During the day, you have to decide, this is where your frequency, still as an empath, has to be that of such a high vibration that you're less likely to pick up what's at a lower vibration. And then I would also make it a game to make a boundary that says, if you're coming to me for advice, I'm going to give you 2 minutes or 5 minutes or however much you can handle of negative complaining. And then after that, we're going to problem solve to feel better. And anyone who's not interested in problem solving to feel better, you pass off to the next person who they go to in the office to talk to. Because if you just let people complain and be a victim, like people just want validation half the time that they're being heard. And so they'll drone on until you say, oh my God, that's so terrible. In fact, one of my friendships in the past really made the huge shift when I didn't ask her ahead of time if she wanted to feel better. I just assumed she wanted to feel better. So what did I do? In the situation where she was complaining to me, I was trying to help her feel better, and it wasn't what she wanted. She wanted me to say the other person was completely wrong and how terrible they were, and I wasn't going to do it. And that pretty much ended our friendship. I mean, we're still friends today in a very surface way, but that changed everything. I'm not interested in having people in my life who want me to victimize them and believe that everyone else is wrong. I want people in my life who take responsibility for their own crap and want to work on it and realize that they create their own reality. So if it's happening to you, you played a part in it. And the only question you should be asking yourself is, how do I change this? Not how do I get mad at that person? Not how do I blame that person? I'm not interested in that. So I've had to learn how to strategically. I wasn't the person who, it happened naturally. I just did what I did and she didn't like it. So if you can come at it with Erin, thinking that, maybe you can tell people, hey, I feel so good today and I want to stay that way, but I love you and I'd love to help you. So here's the thing. Do you want to feel better? If you want to feel better, then I'm going to give you 2 minutes on the clock to negatively complain. But past that, we're going to problem solve so you feel better. How's that sound? And someone may think you're crazy, but then you have to decide your vibration has to be the most important thing to you. Because you'll attract better quality people to you when you stay sustained at a higher level. Okay, Pilar. Pilar said, how do you deal with resistance from another person, such as a job recruiter? How do you change that energy into a positive? Anytime someone has resistance to me, my first way I deal with it is to be compassionate to them. Because resistance often means fear or a trigger of some kind of past trauma. And so their resistance is anything from you remind them of somebody who hurt them, to you evoke fear in them, to you are intense in a way that makes them uncomfortable because they don't want to be held responsible for their own thoughts and feelings. Like a lot of people don't actually want to change. They just want to be validated. So they want to complain to 20 people to get the story out. Doug and I did a podcast when he got back from seeing some family and friends and people, and he made lots of appointments. And I got a little triggered because, he did beautifully, because his goal was to make himself feel better by making the appointments and showing his friends and family that he cares and is interested in a relationship. So all of those actions were really for him, and it was beautiful. And I'm hearing it on the back end, getting triggered because I'm remembering my family and people who in my past who have said the phrase to me, well, I just want to get this off my chest, which is complete bullshit. So if any of you listen to Women, Men, and Relationships, you've already heard this me complain about this. Please don't say that. It's not true. If any of you out there want to just get something off your chest, that just means you want to pass the buck off to someone else and blame somebody else. You're just being negative and using the excuse of somebody else to take you out of being feeling good and being who you are. The question, it really should be, I really want to problem solve this. I want to figure it out. I want to process it better. Then we're going to get somewhere. But every time someone gets something off their chest, it never makes them feel better, and it never solves the problem. Even if you get validated temporarily, oh, you're so right, that person was terrible. And maybe you feel good for 5 minutes. It's like sugar. The sugar gives you energy for 5 minutes, and then you crash. Well, it's going to be the same thing with that phrase. So when someone has resistance to you, it's their stuff. That's all. Just their stuff. They're protecting their wounds. They don't want to be triggered. And what's interesting is when you have a reaction to that, now that's your stuff. And you're saying, why does that bother me? Why do I feel sad? Why do I feel angry? Why am I afraid? And it's because something inside of you saying, I'm not being acknowledged, therefore I'm not worthy. Someone doesn't think I'm smart enough, whatever it may be. But that's on you. Now, I'm not saying, Pilar, you had a negative reaction. You're just asking the question. But basically, resistance is all about the other person's wounds. So if you can remember that that gives me compassion for them, and I ease into keeping my heart open. And then again, if anything comes up for me, then just take responsibility for what comes up for you. All right, so this was a good chunk of Q&A today. If anyone else who's in the community who is not in the Manifestation Challenge Facebook page has a question, you can go to jjflizanes.com, fill out the website form, and ask your question there. And I'm happy to answer it here on the podcast. More importantly, though, all of you who feel like you're empathic or feel like you need to learn how to protect your energy or feel like you have layers of past stuff to release, releasing what weighs you down. Last time in January. I don't know what's happening next year, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to happen the same way, and it may not happen next year at all. So so I know a lot of you aren't ready or haven't manifested the money, and you're like, oh, I'll go to a future event. And I'm not, and of course I'll still do something. I'll be doing events, but I can't guarantee I'm going to do this one again in this way. And Lisa Thomas will be there again doing live clearings. Guys, she charges a lot of money just for a one-on-one session. So you're going to get live clearings pretty much every day from her. And then Jeannie Peters will be there, and Michael and Allison and Doug will be there, and there'll be music, and there'll be dancing, and there'll be meditation. Anyway, just literally, I promise it'll change your life. And if it doesn't, I will make it up. I will make sure it does because of the processes that we do. All right. That's my end story for today. Thank you for listening to the show, and I'll see you guys back here next week.